We're just going to go live.
Cool.
I can make this shit up as I go along, which I always do. Anyway.
Hey, are you even listening? The KritzKast. The TF2 podcast. With these jerks.
Hello and welcome to KritzKast, the Team Fortress 2 podcasts. My name is Aggro and I've been drinking heavily all day. I'm now sipping on a very large pint of pure water. Also, my water company tells me. I hope there's nothing dead in there. I'm today joined by somebody who has reached a pinnacle. Some might say the upper echelons of society, of humanity. It's very self. He is verging on becoming a god in his own right. He is, from all accounts, fabulously attractive to both men and women. They all swoon in his presence, and otherwise extraordinarily talented. He can do things like untie his shoelaces without using either one of his hands. I have no idea how he does it, but they don't call him Clever Dick for nothing. I am, of course, talking about LazyPurple. Welcome to the stream.
Hi there. Hello.
Hello. Oh, is that you doing the shoelace thing? That's very impressive.
Yes, you can't see it, but I'm always doing it. I'm always tying and untying my shoelaces.
Yeah, well, why would you not? I mean, if you had that ability, you would definitely be going for it. And I'm assuming you have that ability, so you're definitely going. Would you? I mean, it's a long podcast, and I'm hoping that maybe to secure the capabilities of your voice and your personality, could you just not for a little while? Just leave your shoelaces alone.
I'll stop my grinds to 99 shoe tying just for you.
Ding! Leveled up. Okay. So we normally at this point reach out into the minds, the very heart of understanding, as it's otherwise known. The heart of understanding is the mind. My goodness, I have been drinking.
Beautiful.
I know. My excuse is a beautiful day. It's a lovely day outside, and I was invited to go to a friend's barbecue. And they told me moments before it was due to go live that they're getting married as well. So congratulations go out there to Steve and Jenny, otherwise known as Zadkiel and Boo Boo. I don't know if they're listening to this right now. I'm assuming they are because they're wonderful people. But if they are not, I'm beaming it to them in their heads. Congratulations to you both. You're wonderful, wonderful people. Anyway, enough of that. Oh, last one. Happy birthday, Ash. So that's great. Anyway, right, so where were we? Yes, I would normally ask you to read through what's on the show today, but as it happens, it's all about you. So,
hey,
LazyPurple,
cool.
What's on the show today? No, so LazyPurple, can I call you Lazy, Mr. L, Mr. P, Mr. LP?
Whatever you please.
Perp. Is perp a bad thing to call?
Probably. I mean, it seems like cops call people perps.
It's. I'm assuming you're a villain, or at least somebody who is perpetrating some sort of nefarious deed, even as we speak, possibly to do with shoelaces. LazyPurple. How? I've got to ask, why? Not how, but why the hell are you called LazyPurple?
So, okay. I loathed this one because it's such a stupid story, and I'll just lay it out. There's no way to spruce it up. I was in middle school, I made a friend, and it's kind of like the way we became friends was that we discovered that our two defining traits were that we were lazy, and our favorite color was purple. And on the same day, coincidentally, I made my AIM account, whatever we used to call it back in the day. And I was like, wow, these are two great adjectives to define my personality for the rest of my life. So Lazy and Purple 321 happened to be where I went and what I am from then on.
Okay, here's a question for you, because Came Time, I don't know if you're aware, the person who used to be known as Julander has recently gone all out and changed their name to Came Time because it's their persona, and it pseudo relates to who he is as a person, and it makes a lot of sense. If you could start again, number one, would you? And number two, what would you start again as?
That's a great question, and also kind of makes me happy because it makes me realize that I wouldn't change anything about my name. I actually feel like it still fits me in some strange way. And of course, maybe that's because it has been my name for so long, and it's hard not to associate it with yourself. But yeah, no, I think it's a great name and good for me.
Well, so do you own all of the things? Are you LazyPurple on Twitter, on
Oh
YouTube,
no,
on
it's if you
on
would
Facebook
believe
and...
it, Lazy Purple actually is not an incredibly original inception straight from my
What?
mind. It's other people have taken the tag Lazy Purple on Twitter, and I think the one woman responsible for keeping it on Twitter was someone who tweeted one time like, "Here's my first tweet, can't wait for the rest," and then never tweeted anything ever again.
Yep.
So now I am lazy and purple, and
No.
that's me. Yeah, I know, but it works.
I mean, that's gotta hurt so much. Have you got a special thing with Twitter? Can you email them and say, please give me name?
Oh, I looked into it, and they are really harsh on it. They're like, "Nah, we're just not dealing with this."
It seems like it's such a full stop, such a final thing. I bet you,
I know.
like, when you're like super duper 15 million subscribers thing person on the internet, then they will totally bend over.
I'll own Twitter by that point.
Oh yeah, they'll be paying
That's my
you.
first investment.
Okay. All right. No, I can see this working out. So, I mean, we can't avoid like the elephant in the room, which is to say that you are this famous, awesome YouTubey type person. So you have hundreds and thousands of followers. So let me turn this around. How would you describe your presence on YouTube?
Huh. Nebulous, tenuous, mysterious,
Oh wow.
indecipherable. Just some of the words I would use.
Just not strung together in an entire sentence, because that's like, I'm not being paid for this. Come on, you can write your own
Right.
shit.
I mean, I definitely, I'm not a normal channel on YouTube, is I guess what I'm getting at. It feels like I've got some weird, unique vibe going on that I have found in a couple other channels, and honestly, it almost makes me feel threatened when I find that same vibe. Like, wait, this is my thing. Only I can be this way.
Yeah.
But it's hard to put exact tags on how I've kind of produced the YouTube channel.
But so okay, is it fair to say YouTube is your primary form of like I don't know, fame within TF2? You're sort of...
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all YouTube, in and out. That's my thing. All the eggs in one basket.
All right, cool. So like you're 100% into it. There's nothing else going on in the background. There's no exterior forces of LazyPurple that are just kind of lying dormant. There's no other projects that are like you're not a famous or pseudo famous director of movies that also
No.
What do you? How are you? Who are you? Who are you? No, who are you? No,
Good one. I mean, yeah.
But like, I'm kind of trying to skirt around the idea of you being a human being as well. And I want to dig into the TF2 stuff because it's a TF2 podcast, and let's face it, that's why we're all here. But you as a human being, are you at school or university? I'm assuming you're North American because the whole time thing that we had to do.
That's right. Yeah, North American, USA. Ooh, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Everyone in chat. Whoa, yeah. No, okay, really.
I mean, they might. I'm sure they'll all get some will yeahs in a moment or two. But like, so you are you somebody who does YouTube as a hobby? Is it something that you rely on? Is it something that you do it to blow off steam when you're like trying to cope with the rest of your life?
Started as a hobby. And actually, blowing off steam with the rest of my life is a great way to describe how it probably was developing during high school. But now it's definitely my living. Like, this is like my identity. I make YouTube videos, and that's all I really want to focus on.
Okay. So I just got proper in chat suggesting this should be a LazyCast, which probably should be the name of your podcast. You should definitely do a podcast. So it's kind of interesting knowing that you're like doing this full time because there was a period when you weren't doing anything at all. Let's get into that. Let's do the whole. You arrived on YouTube and you received a certain amount of popularity, and it kind of built up. Is it fair to say you kind of hit the ground running, or you had to work hard to try and build your followership?
I would definitely say that the era of my channel going forward from It's Precipitating as All Males, when that kind of got traction on Reddit and just kept going from there. And I would definitely consider myself lucky. I feel like during that period, YouTube was such a side thing for me. It wasn't like my identity. I would still say back then it was my identity, but I think that I was not like grinding it so hard, and I was like, oh, this is what I have to do all my free time making videos. It just kind of happened, and I'm super lucky for that because now I have the opportunity to shift into that mode of like grinding all the time on it, and like this is what I want to do because I got so lucky when I was younger.
I mean, you've never. I'm looking back at your old stuff, and it's really interesting if you like ever do this kind of look up on people's YouTube channels, because the first video they produce always has like ridiculously huge numbers, because
Sure.
it's the first thing. Like people want to understand what it is that is going on with this thing that's happening at the moment, but then you kind of expect to see the numbers just drop right off, and that's not what has happened in your case. So you had successful YouTube videos, and
Yeah, I'd say so.
and like the thing that I would most identify with your style is like the transition between SFM and real life. But I mean, real life in-game footage. Like that's terrible that I would mistake in-game footage for real life. But
Hey, it's real. Gameplay is real life.
Yeah, it is. It's tragically true in my case. But so did you always do the SFM stuff, or is that something that you've applied?
No. Well, I mean, I guess that's pretty easy to explain. It started off as replays. God bless when we had replays. Great system. That every game that has introduced some kind of replay system, I am envious of because it makes creative content creation so easy. Like, because I guess this is a pretty key point. The way I make my content is I play the game, and then my brain is always like working on a subconscious level of when something funny happens. It doesn't always have to be funny to me as in, haha, that was a funny kill, but like I kind of am able to realize all the things that happened in a life of a game, as you know, like you live, you kill things, you die. Like in that section, I kind of can realize like, wait, the way things came together was funny from like a cinematic perspective, almost. Like I can see how I can twist this into something unique, and replays made that so easy. Anyway, now that replays are completely unsupported, and that's really when I actually dipped off the face of the earth, is when replays were shot down by Valve.
I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves. I actually do
Sorry,
want to dip into... No, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this. It's an organic conversation. Why not the hell? So, like, you kind of, like, the last video I remember seeing of you was, like, you did the whole... You wanted to do conga line video, and you recorded like 2 weeks of conga. According to what you put out on YouTube, you wanted to do conga line, and you did 2 weeks of recording of it, and then all the replays just didn't have any conga line in it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that actually what happened? Did you go kind of nuts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was already kind of trying to force myself to make that video because my slump was starting. You know, it's not just, oh, replays are dead, I'm gonna give up entirely. It was part of a pile of things that were kind of dragging me down. But I did go insane when all those that was the, as they say, the final straw on the camel's back. That saying, it closed the door for me basically.
All right, what are the other straws?
So I mean, that's a whole thing. It's not the most, I want to say it's not the cheeriest story, but I guess there's always the cheeriness that it came out of it.
Yeah.
But just after high school, I was already not a super driven person, hence the name, you know, LazyPurple. But
Apathetic
after high
purple.
school, well, yeah. But after high school, it's like just so many facets of my life caved in on themselves, and I remember distinctly, and I feel like this is as far as I need to get into it. I remember distinctly asking myself, am I depressed? And I immediately was like, nah, I don't feel depressed. And in retrospect, I realized that like the moment I had to ask myself that, I was on a slippery slope, and I was beating myself up all day long in my head, and it was, I mean, I kind of touched on it in one of my commentaries, but yeah, no, I just really kind of deteriorated internally, which is, wow, that's a dramatic phrasing. But like people do after getting reminded, 100 or so times that there's so much to be grateful for, and that other people go through hard times too. And shout out to shows like BoJack Horseman for kind of like giving that sense of I'm not alone in this and all that. Anyway, eventually I came back, and that's a whole nother thing, I guess.
So, I mean, I kind of wanted to believe that you had gone, because you built up like a fairly decent fan base at the time, and the way in which you left, it wasn't clearly defined. I mean, like, even if I didn't follow your social media. I'm not sure if you're too heavy on social media, but like there was that one video that said, "Well, fuck this shit, I'm off." And then and then there was kind of like radio silence. I want to say you did something in Overwatch.
You mean like in the interim there?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the story of that hiatus is me just getting more and more kind of enthralled by competitive video games and that's like where I found all my validation, was just getting really, really good at every game I touched. And Overwatch, I did get to top 500, yeah, but it's not like I was playing Overwatch all 3 years, but that's part of the story, certainly.
So you got top 500, what, of all time, of all players?
Oh, no, of the season, but I got it a couple times, so I'd say I could definitely have maintained that.
So did you ever think of like taking on Overwatch as being like a competitive esport? I mean, if you're...
I did, I'll be honest. I reached a point where I was like, I can't pick myself up and do creative stuff. I might as well just entirely commit to being a great video gamer, and I'm kind of glad I didn't.
I love that that's like your two alternatives. Like, I can either be creative or I can do esport.
Yeah.
There's two totally... I mean, technically they are very demanding. Let's come back to like your comeback in a few minutes. I want to know like the breakdown of what it is, how demanding it is to do what you're doing at the moment in terms of creating content and releasing it, because
it's pretty demanding. I mean, I think even the layman can see that the videos, the How It Feels videos, are very intensive. And one thing that I'm surprised but pleased about is that there are some people who literally make comments specifically like, "Oh wow, I can see that the script is really well defined, and that you spent a lot of time on that," and not just noticing like, "Oh wow, that SFM animation probably took time," but people are even noticing like the time I put into all the facets, which means a lot to me.
So I mean, you write up a script, or you start recording moments, or you have a moment. I mean, you were talking before about how the stuff with replay was you'd play and then see something stupid and think, yeah, this deserves a video.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it still the same sort of mindset that you'll play for a little bit and think, oh my god, Heavy is so overpowered?
It's super similar. Yeah. I play the games, save the clips, and while I'm playing, or maybe while I view the clips after the fact, I'll think, my mind is kind of like racing. How can I tell the story of this clip, or like how can I express the feelings that this clip made me feel, and other people playing the class? How can I express that in cinematic ways? And that's where the SFM bits come in, is that you can express things that you can't just like, you would have to explain at great length, with audio.
Like there would be too many words, and by the end of it, you would hate yourself having written them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So now that you're doing this, How It Feels, your content, I mean, you're in. I'm trying to count them up. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Scout. I always forget Scout.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
you got like 4 videos done. You're 4 videos deep on this, and there are, at least to my mind, 9 that you can do.
Last time I checked.
Yeah, I mean, unless you start going, would you go Saxon Hale as even as in like an Easter egg and that April Fool thing?
Nah. I mean, the thing that makes these videos work is that I'm super passionate about the game and each class, and every time I pick up one of the classes, I'm like, wow, I see what's going on here, and like where the depth is found, and I just want to feel really strongly about it, and I want to communicate all that. So I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not super passionate about playing Sexton Hale in like versus Sexton Hale. Well, you did mention it as an April Fool's, so who knows?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there's plenty of opportunity for April Fools. How does it feel to be a sentry gun? How does it feel
Oh,
to be
God.
like a level 1 sentry gun in a world where everybody wants to build level 3s?
I think that's what I was trying to get across with how it feels to play heavy.
Really? Like you are
No,
just
but I did have that one clip with the
yeah,
sentry
no,
heavy.
I saw it's quite cute where it's just a static positioning. So I mean, this is your thing now, and I don't mean to kind of level a criticism, but if the how it feels thing is your thing and it's doing very well, it must be said. And you've only got a maximum of 9 of them, and you're pretty much halfway through now. And maybe it takes you a couple of months each to push one of these out. Then you're going to be done by the end of the year.
So a little more than that, but I get where you're going.
Yeah. So what? Do you have like another idea? Is there gonna be something else? Are you overlaying? Have you got like other ideas that you're writing down? Are you waking up in the middle of the night and sketching things out on a pillowcase?
It's straight to Hollywood for me. I'll see you in the big theaters. No, just kidding. I do. So there's one. I do get random video ideas, and I have to kind of suppress them all into a notepad file because I'm already super busy with this whole series as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely have, like you said, waking up in the middle of the night, like, wow, that would be funny. But the big project that I'm so scared to even mention or kind of have a self-realization that, well, this probably is never going to happen is oh my God, bear with me here. It's a TF2 Overwatch comparison, but it's not so basic.
Nobody has ever done that before.
No,
it's groundbreaking.
And I know you're kidding, but I have what I think is a really unique take on like one exact facet between the games that has been changed. Like a key component, if you strips the games down to like their key components, ignoring all the classes and whatever, I think there's one thing that really defines why Overwatch is like commercially more appealable, and then why TF2 players just get furious when they play Overwatch. And trust me when I say I was one of those TF2 players. My friends are playing Overwatch. I'm like, fine, I'll play with you guys. Every time I'm like, this is so stupid. I keep dying. Genji's blade is ridiculous. Yada yada. And I got over that hump, and I kind of learned a lot about what it means to be a TF2 player in an Overwatch environment, and that's just been in the back of my mind for years now. And but like I said, I'm just scared that everyone will entirely look past any points I'm saying and say, "Lol, TF2 Overwatch, what a joke! Nice job, LazyPurple."
I mean, you've done like you've done an Overwatch videos.
That's
it's not
correct,
like you're completely new to that. How do the Overwatch crowd react to you? Do you
Are you asking
know?
how would or how did?
How did? I mean, presumably, if you put out a video that says Overwatch Grandmasters attempt to communicate, and you are someone on the YouTube with the bunch of the followers, and you've previously put out a video saying TF2 is fucking perfect, then I would be 100% surprised if this did not come up on like the Overwatch, I'm guessing, Reddit.
Yeah, it got the smallest amount of traction, by which I mean within the tens of upvotes. First of all, because the general Overwatch subreddit is saturated with the Giphy cats and images, and no one has time for videos these days, especially from people they don't know. But like of the few comments I got from the Overwatch community, people were saying like, "Wow, this is actually hilarious, AF," or whatever. And so I feel like it's more an issue of it doesn't get across that bridge to Overwatch viewers. But what small reception I got from that community was good.
Oh, so it's not that you burnt the ground, or I don't know what the phrase is, but you haven't like totally destroyed any kind of acceptability within the Overwatch
Oh,
crowd.
no. And I think the Overwatch community is not the type to just be like, wow, this guy thinks TF2 is great. I'm never clicking on a video by this guy again.
Are you doing like a reverse analysis of what it's like for TF2 people?
Well, I
watching
mean, I
Overwatch
feel like
relate?
there's always something implicit whenever you talk about Overwatch or TF2. You're making an implication about the other community.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like the TF2 community is a lot more sane and rational about this now. Like people don't say like, "Why you play Overwatch? Game over, buddy." Like, bye. There's still a couple characters that will get up in arms about it, but I think we're all pretty cool about it these days.
I mean, we had Travingel on last week, and he was talking about doing a Muzelk, which literally means putting
Yeah.
the middle finger up to the people who have supported you all the years to go off and do things that are more lucrative, particularly Overwatch. Is that something you're fearful of being labelled as?
I certainly fear the label, but I personally don't fear myself becoming that because really I just make what's inherently funny to me, and I have kind of what some people have called a weird sense of humor at times, and I've seen some videos that like do go viral and appeal to people, and I'm like, I could never force myself to do what is being done in this video, you know? So
Yeah.
no matter what I'm doing, it's always like true to myself and what I find specifically funny. But I mean, the game choice is always more of a conduit. And I guess that's not even giving enough credit because, of course, TF2 is like my life. So it will always be the king of the hill there.
Oh, I'm welling up. Right. So clearly I'm not. Anyway, all right. TF2. It's a big thing. It's a big thing for you. Have you? You mentioned sort of the videos that are done particularly well, like things that aren't necessarily on your radar as things that you would find funny or interesting, but the content that you've pushed out, and I'm kind of like referencing stuff that was like 6 years ago now, like the original content as opposed to the frankly really high quality stuff that you're pushing out at the moment. Like, have you been surprised by things that have taken off? Have you pushed out content and thought, well, this will tide me over for a few months and get the monkey off my back, only to find that people have fallen in love with it?
Yeah, I mean, great question. You referred to like your videos from 6 years ago. Is that
Well, anything,
where
to be
you're
honest. I
asking
mean,
the question? Okay,
basically, so you've had a good career so far in terms of YouTube, and there is almost nothing that you've pushed out that has been universally frowned upon. But some things have done better than others.
One or two very serious gameplays that I think were below par, but otherwise, yeah, mostly people have been on board. Actually, even that's a lie. There's like one or two TF2 replay videos that I had to make private because it turns out I was being really lazy and it wasn't inventive at all. So there's a couple Mars on my past. But to answer your question about things I didn't expect to blow up. First of all, God, I can't believe I'm forgetting the literal title, but the migration of scouts, the soda popper scout migration, if you know what I'm talking about.
I kind of do, but I'm gonna rely on the chat to bring me up to speed.
The
on
flight
what
of the
title.
scouts. The flight of the scouts. That's what it's called.
Yep.
And they all fly across High Tower, and that was like almost a shit post in my eyes, and it totally blew up beyond what I expected, which was kind of an eye opener to me that like you can make a lazy shit post, but as long as it has some kind of value, it will do just fine, which kind of is like counterintuitive for a perfectionist, you know.
Did you ever feel compelled from the success? I mean, the video is 30 seconds long. It's not an impressive
No.
piece by anyone's imagination. Actually, it is impressive in as much as getting that many people coordinated to all move in the same direction, like herding cats sometimes. And anyway, but other than that, like, did you feel that maybe you should go in the direction of lowering your desire for quality and just pushing out shitloads of this stuff?
It's certainly tempting, although that was when I started dipping off in activity. So clearly I did not see that as a solution. So I think I've always kind of had a feeling that, you know, if it's not up to my par, I can't put it out there. You know, I'm never gonna think about like the algorithm first and then me. It's always, I think about what I find funny, what does my audience find funny, and then I play the algorithm from there. And I never work in the other way.
That's probably a good way to. I mean, it's certainly a good way to live your life.
Makes me happy. So
Yeah, it helps you sleep at night, that kind of thing.
yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's talk for a minute about the not so much the break, because clearly it's a personal matter and
Right.
something you had to work yourself through. But you came back, and I think a lot of people were very happy that you came back. And even if you had come back and just put up a 30-second shitpost about Heavy's eating sandwiches, I think a lot of people would really appreciate that. Oh my god, he's back! He's eating sandwiches.
Definitely not how I perceived it, but that's nice of you to say.
Okay, so but what you came back with was a video that actually felt it moved me.
Oh, that's sweet. Thanks.
And it was, for my mind at least, it was something that celebrated the things that are awesome about Team Fortress 2. I mean, the thing is called TF2 is a timeless masterpiece. So it's not like it was just a kind of casual off-the-cuff comment. It's 12 minutes of you talking about what TF2 does right, and why it's worth your time still. Was it hard to make?
No, see, that's one of the videos that had been boiling in my head since 2014. I don't know if it. I always ask myself, like, did taking this 3-year hiatus, is that why I'm able to come back with content like this? Because of course, it's only natural to wonder what would have happened if I kept making videos for 3 years. Would I have, I might have died more certainly on YouTube if I kept forcing myself to make stuff, and then there's like a degradation, and then there's the, I don't know if you want to call it self-pity, and then you lash out at the viewers and that whole thing, and maybe it's great that I was able to come back in a really focused and kind of meditative way and be like, this is my super project, please enjoy. But no, yeah, it was totally natural for me. It's thoughts I've had since years and years of why TF2 is so amazing, and questions I've always asked myself and answered.
I mean, it heralded for you a new style of doing TF2 content, like the combination of frankly beautiful pieces strung together with a script and strung together with like a well thought out argument, and it sort of set you up for doing like what you're doing at the moment with the How I Feel stuff. Did it take 3 years to make?
No. And actually, in my follow-up commentary, I spitballed the figure of 700 hours, and I feel like, in retrospect, I'm like, how is that true? It's almost like that part of my life kind of zipped by. But it might have very well taken 700 hours, because I really doubt I was like lying to myself to impress anyone. I think a lot of that period, though, was relearning everything, and I had so many issues in my workflow, having forgotten pretty much how to keep everything in check. So it did take probably 700 hours, but half of that was probably due to a learning process. Yeah.
So you now do some cool shit with SFM?
Yes.
Is that your shit with SFM, or do you...
Oh, yeah, no, it's all me. Everything is me except for some art assets by my girlfriend Circuit. Some people might know her as Sabrina from the Far Cry video, but because when it comes to drawing art, I am completely inept. I can't even do like my profile pictures and stuff. That is all her. But otherwise, when it comes to what you see in the video, animation and all, I tried outsourcing it one time to a very generous creator who I really respect, and it had nothing to do with like their inherent talent or commitment. It was just that when I saw what they did, I'm like, this is not what was in my head. And right. I gotta see what's in my head on the video, So I decided, well, I just might not be the type that can visually collaborate. So it's all me, and I forced myself to learn what I want to do.
I mean, that's brutal. That's brutal for going forward, because it means that you're forever stuck being... I don't mean to address you now that I'm thinking about this. I should probably shut up. But like, it's always going to be you. If you want to push out a video, you're going to have to do it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there's always... It's not like I have chosen a character slot where I have a negative trait that says cannot collaborate with people. It's just kind of a personal choice that I might have to concede on if I want to make a certain piece of content within a reasonable amount of time. It's just kind of who I am.
And now this is who you are, like, full time. So you are gonna have to. What, you're gonna have to push out a video every couple of months?
Oh, a couple of months is a way overestimate. I wish I. Okay, so I guess kind of throwing back to your question about videos I didn't expect to explode. How it feels to play Spy was actually a video I was just throwing out there because it's like it was part of one of those videos that from 2014 has been boiling in my head. I'm like, well, why don't I make a video where I talk about every class and how it feels, haha. And then when it exploded, I realized like, whoa, this is a project I really should commit to. So damn, where was I going with this? What was the original question? Sorry.
I have no idea. I've lost. I keep on watching videos that you've made while you're talking about making videos. And that's the worst possible thing because it's so distracting. But like, so collaborating with other people and having to do everything yourself and
right, the upload frequency.
Yeah.
So how it feels to play Spy, that was actually knocked out in 100 hours. So I thought, wow, every 2 weeks I can make one of these. Not so, because for me, I feel like I always have to up to the bar for each one of these in the series I make. So the Soldier video took 270 hours, which is like 5.5 work weeks if I like don't slip up, which I still do, and I'm trying to get a hold on. But that's why partly I have the in-between videos that aren't TF2, because I can always knock those out in 2 weeks max, and they just kind of like keep the channel relevant in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, does YouTube allow you to push out so infrequently? Are they on your
That's
backs?
always a concern. The algorithm is a fickle mistress, and not gonna lie, I always have moments where I'm like, damn, this is so against me, and I see other people making content that's like practically a live stream, and it explodes like twice as hard as mine in the algorithm, and it's always a little upsetting. And thankfully I do have the Patreon, which kind of soothes my nerves, and I'm like, well, I may not be pleasing the algorithm, but I have people that are willing to make up the difference in me being more committed to my integrity as a creator.
Patreon is a big thing for you. I've seen, like, actually, I don't even know, and I don't want to know. Don't tell me. I'll just cry. But like, your fans or people who love your content are supporting you by gifting you money to allow you to do the things that you want to do, which is fantastic.
It's mind blowing. It's impossible to properly appreciate that process.
I mean, how do you? Because KritzKast has a Patreon as well, and it's fantastic. And I love the fact that people will give us coinage, and in return we'll give them hugs, but and occasionally content when I remember to do it. Actually, I'm feeling really bad at my own Patreon at the moment because there's things I haven't done for them over the last month. But it's anyway, that to one point, my own misery to one side. For let's focus on your misery. What? Is it okay being beholden to these Patreons or to your?
You mean
fan
like filling
base?
a debt to them, or?
Yeah.
It's difficult because I think rationally it's better for everyone that the videos are the number one priority, and then the patrons come second in terms of like influencing the process. I think it's just better for everyone, but we're emotional creatures, and for me, the idea of displeasing a single patron that like voluntarily gives me money is heart-wrenching, and it's part of the reason that I'm always upping the quality of the videos, because the last thing I want is that someone sees a video and they're like, this is great, I'm gonna support it, next video rolls in, and then it's not as great, and they're like, damn, that wasn't worth the pledge, like the value wasn't there, So that's like really difficult emotionally to grapple with, and I just hope and pray that I can keep putting in the effort and quality that meets the standards of people who are willing to support me.
That's kind of nice. Actually, that's super nice.
Kind of nice.
How do you? Yeah, I mean, if I can put but no, seriously, it's nice that you feel that way. Like what? How do you connect with your fan base? And okay,
via Patreon or
well, not even necessarily Patreon, but like so I've been on your Discord. And I popped in there to look for some show art that we could use in the background with Beefer. and we ended up with this beautiful piece from somebody who used to be known as open bracket heart close
Yeah,
bracket.
I couldn't even figure out what their tag was.
They've changed the name to Australia. I'll look it up. But I was in your Discord, looking at your fan art section, and like I scrolled through that, and every now and again I would see a message from you, like shouting out all the individual people who'd submitted something, whether it was art, whether it was music, whatever it was. And you just saying, "This is cool. Thank you very much for doing this. It's amazing. I love this. I love it's picked out the color of my eyes," or something stupid. Like it was just, it was a very personal response to like the internet. Like the internet were talking to you, and you were talking back on a one-to-one basis. And that for me struck a chord as being something that is truly delightful.
That's so nice of you to say. That means a lot, really.
And is that something that you have consciously attempted to do? Not just, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for the internet. I'm asking for all YouTubers out there. I'm asking for people who create Team Fortress 2 content, for people who run one-day cups. Like, how important is it for you to open channels of communication?
I feel like anyone who gets any sort of serious support, whether it's monetary or emotionally, people who just say nice things, I think that this is kind of a character judgment, so I don't want to make a super generalization, but I think personally it's correct to feel so much of a debt to everyone that supports you that you can't express it properly. Like you can't. I wish that every single person could have some kind of one-on-one time with me, right? That I could say, "Thanks, I love that you said this," and it's so great to have you around, because I mean, you can armchair psychologist all you want, but it doesn't make sense to me how much people appreciate my stuff. So I feel even more indebted in that way. But I guess as a message to creators, like you said, you don't exist without your audience. And this is a really interesting thing, and where a lot of people's personality decides how they respond to this. Because some people take the extreme route and they kind of crumble under this kind of indebtedness, and they say, I will decide to go on the extreme side of do not care a single thing that any viewer says. I exist in my own world, and if people watch, that's a coincidence. And I think that I can understand how people can crack down to that point, but I don't think it's right. I think you should always have a great sense of humility and respect for your position in relation to your audience. And like I said earlier, it's just impossible for me to properly express how I wish everyone would know how much I appreciate their presence.
That's nice. Like, if I were today one of the 1.6 million people who watched that video about playing Spy, which I must say is a very seductive picture of the Spy, Spy seduces you. So if I were one of those 1.6 million people, would I find you on Discord? Is that something would I expect to see you in there, or is it
totally possible to find me on Discord? Yes. I am, like I said earlier jokingly, I'm a little nebulous. I'm a little hard to reach sometimes, especially because it's just kind of part of my work philosophy that it's better to, I think it's and this is part of the whole thing where I feel like I can't relate enough to my audience as often as I want to, is there's this horribly difficult fine line between interacting with your audience and then interacting to your audience to the point where it disturbs your time where you should be making content for the audience. And there are people who I see that they slip into this, and it's totally understandable that you build the audience and then you're like obsessed with interacting with the audience, and you get so much validation from that. And I don't mean to say it's like super self-centered when people do this. Of course they're being appreciative of their audience, but it's you gotta put it on yourself that like I can't be in my Discord general chat all day, even though I want to talk to these people and let them know that I appreciate them being in my Discord, so you will catch me now and again, and every now and then I have pings on, so if people ping me I will kind of see whatever random stuff they say.
Nice.
I feel I already regret saying this because
I was gonna say I'm about to go and spam it now.
No, really, please. I don't have pings on all the time. It's very rare that you will get through to me like that. But it's one of the ways I make sure that I am seeing what's going on in there, and I do like to check. And actually, if I'm not in the Discord channel, it's always usually a sign that I'm actually struggling with my work, because sometimes when I am working, it's always a reminder of the people who are there for me, you know. And then when I'm like kind of having an episode of not being able to work, it's like I fall off the face of the earth. So bad habits, right? Old habits die hard.
Yeah. I mean, when you're working, it's one of the things I find, like doing the podcast or doing the editing of the podcast whenever I eventually get around to it. By the way, I think this is episode 466. It might not be. I'm way behind in my editing schedule. So if this is episode 460 or 30 or even episode 2, my apologies. Anyway, and the other thing is Australian Mist is the new name of the person who gave us the show art for the picture that you're seeing at the moment. Okay. Anyway, so... can you, when I'm working and I want to sit down and like shut the rest of the world out and just work, I can put my headset on and listen to some beautiful music. Can you do that while you're working on like SFM?
This is kind of a funny question, because there's only a select few people who know that the absolute shitpost music I listen to sometimes to get myself hyped up. Like, I don't even watch anime, but every now and then I'm like looping some kind of ridiculous anime remix. And I mean the type where they're like mixing their voice lines together, and it's absurd. And I don't even watch the animes, but for some reason, something about like, and it's not always anime, but like dialogue mixing music. I think it used to be called YTPMVs, like YouTube Poop music videos. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I listen to put myself up. There's something about dialogue being constantly spammed at me. But yes, I can zone out at times, like you described, or I just put on relaxing music and go offline everywhere. And sometimes it feels like you just have to go offline everywhere, but yeah, that's part of the process.
Okay, I feel like I'm learning how to be you. It's just like lessons on being.
It's all about
lazy.
the anime remixes.
Yeah, no, I just realized lessons on being lazy sounds like best book ever. Right, so you are a YouTube person. Do you stream? Do you stream? Do you live stream? Do you live stream on Twitch or on YouTube?
Patrons, and I do it on Twitch.
So do.
And it's kind of like on an alias. If you can find my stream, good luck. But when it comes to streaming for the general public, which I'm sure is what you mean to say, it's just, again, like it's in a similar vein of I'm scared of the slippery slope of like over interacting with my audience, distracting from the creation. I feel like over streaming is a real problem that we are kind of collectively running into. I see so many creators who are like, all right, time to stream because this seems like the thing to do. And whenever that happens, I get concerned that their main content is going to fall off, because, I mean, shout outs to Germa as if that was necessary. We all love him, but I can't believe the extents he has to go to create a creative stream, you know, whether it's the magic tricks or some characters he comes up with. It seems like there's a limited and really challenging amount of things you can do to make a stream original. And I feel like that originality is something I'm always going for, and it's just easier for me to achieve in a YouTube format. So I'm always scared to start saying like, hey, I'm a streamer now, because YouTube is my main platform.
Yeah, and there's always a risk that you're going to fall down like the classic hole of being a full-time streamer, which is otherwise known as children's entertainer. So, I mean, it's nice to know that it's not something that's pulling you away from content creation. And as you say, that's like seeing other people do it. Like even when you look at the amount of content that Banny's able to push out on his YouTube, that's because someone else is doing his video editing for him.
Right.
And
I respect the channel like that. Like, I fully respect Banny's channel, and it's great to just watch when it's like I'm waking up and I need something to watch. It's like I love watching Banny destroy the game in and out, and he's funny and his teammates are funny, but it's just definitely never the path I'm going down.
Look, we've built this up a couple of times. I mean, you mentioned sort of being top 500 in that other game that Shonomi named. And now talking about Banny, like, is competitive a thing for you? I mean, even in the videos when you say, like, how to I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was like Heavy or something, where you were talking about destroying people. Like in it wasn't even a pub. It was it a pub
Well,
or pub?
the video ends with me saying that it's so easy to destroy people in pubs as Heavy if you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
and then saying that the reason that I try to talk about the videos in a competitive context is that I feel like that's where you learn how it feels to play the class. And actually, this whole series from when I imagined it in 2014 was a realization that came when I started playing every single class in Highlander, because I was like, holy hell, I'd never realized that the classes had this kind of like strong identity, and it makes
Yeah.
me sad that Highlander is kind of not as respected. I mean, I get it; it's 9 people on a team; it's so hard to organize, yada yada. But I think that you find such a strong identity of each class in that format, and that is where I got the idea for those videos.
Yeah. So, is it something that you would find yourself doing? Are you, if you had more time? And
You
I
mean like
kind of,
being on an official team?
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm going for here. Like, is comp something that you would consider a path you consider going down?
Well, I definitely have an ego when it comes to my gaming, and it feels like that's actually one of the reasons I don't stream is that my gameplay falls apart the second I'm trying to interact with people at the same time. And I feel like if I was on a competitive team, that means like a constant commitment to being at my best in TF2. I mean, of course, you can just join a team, a div below what you feel you are, and just kind of take it casually. And I'm sure a lot of people do that, and that's good. You know, casual competitive teams. That's an oxymoron, but anyway, you know what I mean. Those keep a lot of the formats afloat. People just having fun. But for me, it's hard to commit to saying, all right, I'm gonna keep practicing TF2 like constantly because I need to just work on editing 50 hours a week sometimes, and then my gameplay would totally deteriorate, and I'd be letting teammates down, and that's the whole thing. But I love competitive TF2. I've been on a couple official competitive teams, and I always say that like I probably would have never stopped playing TF2 for any other game if the official competitive mode was like a huge hit.
If it's official.
Yeah.
Is it really irksome to you then that Valve don't seem to be supporting it the way that they support
It's so regrettable for me. And I know a certain Moose Man, is that one of the ridiculous nicknames we have for him? He used it as like a platform to hop off of TF2, and I understand because it really was kind of a kick in the teeth for a lot of people. I mean, really, it feels like the only way to solve the problem is to go back in time and tell them how to do it differently, because it feels like it was such a key moment. And I still feel that there's things that they can do to keep it alive and keep the competitive mode in an uptick instead of a downtick. But no, I'm super irked by competitive mode not taking off because it means so much to me.
I mean, it's one of the weird things about TF2. Like, if you talk about it being on a downtick, actually, like there are more competitive players now than there've ever been before. There's more cups up. There's more teams like hyperactive. There's more lands. There's more money in lands. But everything is being driven from the community. Like everything is people filling in the gap that Valve have left. Like they're filling the door with their bodies instead of Valve just adding a fucking extractive van. That's the worst analogy I've ever thought. I must be sobering up. This is getting awful. But yeah, it's not something that we as a community should feel bad about, because we are trying.
Yeah, we're trying so hard. God bless. Seriously, people gotta respect everyone who tries to keep competitive TF2 going, no matter what controversies kind of come up now and then about it. They're trying so hard.
Yeah. I mean, do you have any kind of outreach into? Okay, I want to ask, like, do you have any outreach into the competitive community? Do you know anyone within that? But more, I kind of want to circle this back and say, in terms of like the YouTubey type people, in terms of like the wider public of people who have some measure of influence within the world of Team Fortress 2, do you communicate with everyone or anyone or?
Yeah, I've got Funk, Uncle Dane. I was gonna say Salty Fish, but boyo, that's like a different thing now, huh? But no, yeah, I do have TF2 YouTubers added, and don't talk to them as much as I wish I could. I did actually stream. I was on a stream with Salty Fish, Funk, and Scott Jaw, and that was fun. But again, it's like I immediately have concerns over like, is this taking time away from time that could be spent on the YouTube channel? You know?
Yeah. I mean, you did the thing a couple of weeks ago on our channel actually, which was the rally call.
Yes.
So you competed in the Highlander rally call thing and did pretty well. Did all right with that.
I did okay. It was really fun.
It was okay. So that's the alternative of I didn't win. It was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. But yeah, so it's not like collabs are like completely out of the question. Is there anyone that you desperately want to do one with, or it's like because YouTube,
Well,
if you're on YouTube's like website, they're always pushing you to do collabs.
Yeah, I think first of all, I respect Funk's production on so many levels. But it's almost ironic because I can see all the ways we're similar, and the irony is that our similarity actually probably prevents us from a strong collab because I can see that we both have very like personal visions of how a video comes out. So I think we would just always be clashing and say, you know what, let's just make our own video, like very respectfully. But I definitely straight up, like inarguably need Uncle Dane's help with the engineer video because I that is the one class where I'm like, what is going on with this guy?
I mean that's actually kind of interesting because you talked about sort of the love that you have for the classes that you play in TF2, but at certain points there's going to be have you played all the classes to infinity?
Engineer is my lowest at 44 hours, so take that as you will. I do, and I guess this kind of dips back into in competitive Highlander. Yep. I enjoyed playing engineer in lobbies because there's this thing about the level 3 sentry for me where if you are setting it up and you know that the enemy team knows how to take it down, it's like a whole different dynamic of keeping it up, and it's like rewarding in a different way. And when your sentry kills someone, it's less of like, there goes another hatless pyro who like didn't know the sentry spots, and more of like, yes, I would like outplayed this guy in some way who knew how a sentry gun works, you know? So I feel like in pubs, I'm totally lost on what's going on with like keeping up a level 3 base and why that's fun for some people. But Dane has already helped me kind of understand what's going on with how you enjoy that. But yeah, it dips back to the competitive side of things.
So what's your second least played?
Oh man,
I genuinely, I've never asked this to anyone. Like, this is you're breaking like ground with the bizarre questions.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
It's actually easier to check than. Oh, never. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to go to my Steam profile. I don't want to say medic because first of all, that's a horrible look. That NG and medic are on the bottom of my stats.
I don't care about other people.
I feel like it's medic. Screw
Is it? Okay.
Rip me. I do like playing medic though. Medic, I don't have a problem understanding what's fun about it. It's just that me psychologically or whatever as a person, I have a constant urge to push the limit of my character, which means going in aggressively as often as I can to see what works and what doesn't work. Whereas classes like medic and engineer, it's like I'm pushing the limits of staying alive, which is a totally different dynamic and like a different person for me. Even heavy, you can do the thing where you're just jumping around corners, being wild and stuff. So that's why it's difficult for me to play those.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one TF2 question, but before I do that, I need you to do something for me.
Okay.
Okay. So we do a thing called Player of the Week, which is kind of like it comes with a fanfare, which is nice, but who doesn't want a fanfare? But it also comes with a hat. We give out a vintage lo-fi long wave to anyone who is named Player of the Week by realistically any of our guests. So I kind of need you to name for us this week's Player of the Week.
Well, I didn't know there was a hat involved. And that makes me sad because I wanted to shout out like.
Is it going to be your mum?
No.
Okay. It's not your mum. What kind of son are you?
Okay, I know I'm horrible. I guess I'm just gonna have to make the decision on the spot, and it is Lamaku from my silly servers because I wanted to shout out Mexi and everyone. Okay, everyone deserves props for keeping that server alive, and. Not just because they've done so much. Like in my 3-year hiatus, right? How do my servers not die? It's all them. Like they created this server and this hub, and I know that not everyone appreciates what's going on there, but it's created a community for some people where they feel really safe and with friends, and they've met friends, important people in their life, and I think that's amazing that they've kept it up the whole time in my absence. So thank you, Lamiku, specifically for the hat, but also Mexi and everyone on that team.
So this is going to be like a really weird thing to do, but I'm going to say congratulations go to Lamiku, and maybe we'll sort something out for the rest of the guys. Lamiku, at least you are definitely this week's player of the week.
Woo, yeah! Start the freaking party!
And I know I only said one question more, but now I'm thinking maybe there are more. Your servers. Tell me about the servers. Why do you have servers? And do you? Because servers were a thing that everybody used to have. Like everybody,
right.
like ubiquitous. People had. If you were a part of a community, you had a community server. Whereas that's not the truth anymore, and a lot of people have like given up. Like KritzKast has given up our player servers. Partially because it requires a great deal of administration, and partially because nobody's ever going to be on them. So why do you have them, and do you keep them full? Do you even play on them anymore?
Well, I am very neglectful in that regard. I don't drop by as much as I would like to because, again, it immediately becomes everything takes time, but interacting with fans in a especially a vocal environment like a server is a special kind of taking time because it takes a special kind of energy to be like hosting people who are asking you questions, and you're kind of like on the spot. You're not really there as just a player. It's a different, and it can be exhausting. Of course, I love everyone that's there, but it can be exhausting to be the center of attention like that. So it can like leave me depleted for the rest of my work day. I probably could hop by at night and stuff. Anyway, it's hard for me to hop on, and but why do I keep them up? And that's the beauty of it, and that's why I felt a need to shout out the staff, is because if there were not other people keeping tabs on how to keep that community going, I wouldn't. There's no way I would be able to keep it going. It would be derelict by now because I really am not knowledgeable in any of that server mumbo jumbo. And I mean, so many years later, right? Here it is. But when it began, it was just a logical next step in being a silly, friendly YouTuber. You know, it felt like it was so hard sometimes to go in a server and be friendly, and everyone kills you. And I just said, like, why not? I'm sure this was done sometime before me, but why not have a server where we just, you know, chill and we're silly and we do all the memes and no killing to an extent. And it just was really natural. It had no like real intent, but I'm so happy and grateful that it's stayed all this time, because I've had people tell me stories about how important it's been for them to have a TF2 environment that like was strictly social and helps them find close friends. And it's just I'm really happy that it became something meaningful to people.
Were there any close calls for you? Did you ever feel super connected to anyone on there?
Close calls as in where I was like almost too attached. I mean, yeah. I guess I don't. It was so long ago that I would frequent it.
That's so bad to hear.
I know.
And that's kind of like where KritzKast kind of gave up their servers. They realized I wasn't on them anymore. We gave them up basically because they had formed their own entity. They become sentient and wandered off into the jungle. And that realization was harsh, because I used to love community servers. And in fact, I'm actually going to join your servers at some point and play games on them.
Yeah,
they exist.
Absolutely. I mean, we have an actual pub too that is frequently active. Sometimes not, but more than some community servers these days, you know, so we actually get to play the game.
I like how if you look at the About section of your YouTube, it says, like, these are my TF2 servers. Killing in my primary server is tolerated. Like, yeah, obviously. Surely.
To an extent.
Yeah, to an extent. Just don't go overboard.
Just don't be a dick. It's like the #1 rule. That's like Soundsmith's only rule, I think, in his Discord. Don't be a dick.
It is KritzKast only rule, and it always has been. So
Yeah.
If in doubt, see rule #1. Yeah. So, I feel like I kind of uncross that line and bring it all back, and ask you like a TF2 question. I don't know if I still have like one in the can, but so you're TF2 soldier. If TF2 soldier, I mean, are you TF2 soldier because you like doing the whole whacking people with spades from a distance? Is that? Or
I feel like I just kind of accidentally isn't the right word, because I of course embrace it gleefully to be the purple bearded soldier, but I just kind of, it's precipitating adult males is like the seed of the channel, and it's where everything grew out of, and I always see myself as or other people have said that they always see me as the rocket jumping soldier guy, the it's raining men guy, and I just embrace that. And also, I mean, soldier is my most played class, which just kind of goes hand in hand with it representing me. I love the rocket jumping, the soldiering, the try-harding, the rockets. Like I said at the end of the soldier video, I regrettably did not go more into detail about this, partly because I feel like I would have sounded like a broken record at this point because I ended the scout video this way, but you just always get better with the rocket launcher. You people say, "Oh, shoot the floor," but you can always shoot the floor a little bit closer to them. You know, it's like a never-ending game of how close can you get the rockets to your enemies. So, soldier is forever going to be a really entertaining class for me.
If soldier wasn't there, would you have chosen a different class, or would you
scout
have
probably
never played TF2? So,
are you saying would I have not played TF2?
Would you have not played TF2 at all? Like,
wow.
Like, was soldier enough of a draw for you to make you want to try TF2?
That's an excellent question. Of course, you're asking the version of me like 8 years ago.
Yeah. I was gonna say that the many years ago, the young punk version of you.
I think Scout was my original draw to the game, so I think I still would have been around.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to ask you one question that isn't, and it's a straight up question. There's no lead into it at all.
Okay.
Bear yourself. How long have we got you? I don't mean now, because we're pretty much closing the podcast. I'm going to get you to say goodbye in a minute.
Right.
But like,
do you mean
how long have we got you? How long's the TF2 community got you?
So this is obviously a fascinating topic. And there's so much thought, there's so much feelings, there's so much subjectivity to what goes on in being a TF2 tuber, and for how long. And like I said, these How It Feels videos are totally genuine, totally out of a sense of passion and love for the game. And personally, I feel like that's just why they work, is that I totally feel the things I'm feeling, right? If I said, I couldn't imagine some random person being like, I'm going to make a video on how it feels to play soldier, and I play it for 10 hours and I know how it feels. No, it's, so yeah, just to like make it extra clear, if I haven't, I love the game to an infinite extent. What I'm concerned about is that after I'm done with this How It Feels series, I don't know if the next project that's TF2 related will feel forced, because these don't feel forced at all.
Yeah.
But people ask me things like, well, you can make How It Feels to make Demo Knight and stuff. I'm like, I'm not really passionate about Demo Knight and like what he does differently than Demo Man. I definitely have a lot of TF2 clips, and like I still get ideas whenever I play the game, right? Like, oh, that'd be so funny if you saw it from this perspective or something like that. But I also am worried that like, how long can you string SFM clips and gameplay together before people are like, all right, LazyPurple, that's your gimmick. Cool, we got that one. So I don't. One thing's for sure, I don't see myself saying like, well, I ran out of the creative juice now to make TF2 commentaries for the rest of my life. You know, I feel like I can't know how long I'm going to be passionate past the series, but there is a lot of passion there, and I just don't want to force anything, you know. And that's why I like already I'm splitting up like TF2 content, non-TF2 content, TF2 content, non-TF2 content, because it stops the burnout. And Soundsmith actually just today released an excellent video talking about like the long heralded story of people being TF2 tubers and then playing other games. And I think he said it perfectly, so I don't want to really repeat everything he said, but it's
just assume that I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah. Basically a lot of what I've been saying, but one thing he said that was really perceptive to me is that playing non-TF2 games can actually keep you in the TF2 community for longer, because then you don't feel forced. You don't feel like you can't stand this game anymore. You know, when you have the freedom, the TF2 content sticks around longer. So hopefully that's the case for me, and hopefully people are just understanding when it's non-TF2 content, and the TF2 content just keeps coming in some way, shape, or form.
I've always said that Team Fortress 2 is the ultimate comeback game.
Yeah,
It's a game you come back to. You go out, you try other things, you sow your wild oats of gaming, and then you think, do you know what? I really miss TF2.
Mm-hmm.
And you come back and you play some, and you think, no, I didn't.
And,
you come back and you play some, and you think, yeah, no, this is what I missed. There are many imitators. There's nobody who's managed to replicate that.
And it's
feeling.
like I described in the masterpiece video. It just comes down to the shooting and the movement. It's like infinitely satisfying. It's a one in a lifetime game.
Absolutely. Right. Well, I think that's a happy and glorious place to end this on. It has been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this. I don't know if we even need to give you an opportunity to shout out people. You've already shout out half of your service staff and a bunch of your fan base. Oh, go on. Anyone else you want to give a quick shout out to?
It's just my girlfriend. Oh God, that's so cliche, but she makes the art, and I can't do art. It's so helpful. So yeah, that's
it. That's awesome.
I'm a sap.
And how do people find you, assuming that they don't already know how to Google LazyPurple?
Twitter.com/LazyandPurple. I think my YouTube channel is obvious. Not streaming that much on Twitch. And my Discord, wow, how do you even shout that out verbally? I think someone linked it in the chat at some point, but it's in all my video descriptions. So find me on YouTube, everybody.
Your chat did actually shout. It's on every single video you put out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much for being here, and I look forward to... When's the next video coming out? 2 months? So next month?
Well, the next TF2 video... So I'm already a week behind work, gonna be honest. So
August.
I would say 2. Yeah. No, you got it pretty on the head. I would say nearly 2 months from now is when to expect the next How It Feels.
Damn. Gosh. Okay, well, look forward to that one. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Outro music.
That was another episode of KritzKast,
Another satisfied customer.
brought to you by thepodcast.com.
Our influence grows.
For more episodes as well as our show notes, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Steam group, and much more, head over to KritzKast.com.
Another successful procedure.
So I love chat. Hero Arts 110 goes, how long is that going to be in Valve time?
We
Awesome.
need unique metrics for that.